Hello and good afternoon and welcome to week 4 of the Bill Nees Football Coaches Show. I am Chip Hare, your host. With us is obviously our coach Bill Nees. And Coach, before we talk about this week, let's go back and talk about what was probably one of the greatest games Alexander Stadium has seen here in recent time, and that is the Piqua Indians falling in a double overtime loss to Lima Senior. And this game was everything a fan could ask for and then some. We talked about last week in the show that Piqua was going to have to deal with adversity. And right from the get-go, Lima comes out, scores 12, and we've got adversity right from us, and we come right back at them, and we score 13 straight. And we'll break down the game here a little bit as the final score goes to Lima 44-36. Coach, your assessment in just the game itself.
Well, overall, this is the third game in the series, and the first game in the series was a shootout down here in Piqua, 45-47 that we lost. But we really felt we played well, and you don't feel good when you lose, but you feel okay in the fact that you're competing with a team that we think is pretty good, very talented team. I think last year we stumbled, went up to Lima, and just did everything possibly we could wrong, and that's been kind of sitting on us for a year. We've had an opportunity to talk to some people about some different things on offense and defense, but I think most importantly, we got a different mindset with our players. And I think our players this is probably as prepared mentally that we've been in a long time with a group of high school kids that knew what they wanted to do, that were bent on doing it and not going to worry about whether or not something didn't go their way back and forth, but just ready to hurdle anything that stood in their way to get a victory. And it was an exciting game on both parts. Obviously, it was very disappointing for us to be able to lose the game, but also when you look back on something like that, I think it's going to end up and make us a better football team.
Well, and let me stand corrected. The score was 36-28 in double overtime. And Coach, as we talked about right from the get-go, they come out of the locker room. They put 12 on the board, and we've got to come back and we put 13 on the board. And we get an interception to have an opportunity to go up even more. Yeah,
and that passing offense has been, the scourge of Ohio for a long time. That's been torching everybody for a long time. And for us to go out and intercept him 4 times, sack him 4 times, was just something it was pretty phenomenal for our confidence, I think, defensively. Holding them to 20 points in regular season was also unusual. I know Toledo Whitmer held them last year to 7 points in a game, but up to that, they've been averaging 40 a game. So I thought we made a lot of strides defensively. I think on offense we made a lot of strides. I think we were able to get our passing game going a little bit. But each side made mistakes. Each side made great plays. Each side made mistakes, and it was kind of going to be who was going to be the last team to make the great play. And they were the last team that made the great play. We were the last team that obviously couldn't get that last play done for one reason or another.
These games are real easy to rewind, look at this play, that play, this could have happened, this should have happened. You talked about statistics. Another statistic that you and I talked about the other day that was pretty interesting was we held them under 100 yards in rushing. That was another statistic that when you look at it, I think, wow, and they're a pretty fast team. 4 interceptions to a quarterback who's probably going to be all league for them says a lot to our defense. When you go into a game like Lima, game plan obviously was, hey, we don't want to get into a running track meet with these guys. Talk about pace. How do you work on that, keeping that pace to our liking?
Well, I think one of the things that we did was we got out of our man-to-man concept and played more of a zone concept, whereas we wanted to keep everything in front of us. And we weren't going to be able to do it every time, but we were trying to keep everything in front of us, and then we wanted to break to the ball, and we wanted to always create more numbers. So when you're playing zone defense and a ball comes over here, you can at least get a 2-on-1. If they put 3 receivers over here, we wanted to sneak an extra guy in there so we could have a 4-on-3. It was all about the numbers game. The other thing was that I noticed is there's a lot of people that play man-to-man coverage on them, and they're going to get beat sometimes anyway. But they're playing man-to-man coverage. They get into a track meet, And these guys get their, the defensive backs have their tongues hanging out after a while. And then the next thing you know, that quarterback scrambles. And one of the nice things about this game was that everybody up to that point, as soon as they see man and everybody turns their back and goes, that quarterback's out scrambling, working around. And we were able to at least keep that part, under control, keep the running game under control. And the things you can't control, covering a 6'6" receiver. You can double him with 2 5'10" guys. You can triple him with 3 5'10" guys, but that guy's still 6'6". Unfortunately, somebody asked me what he thought about doubling more, and I said, well, they can't stand on top of one another, to make themselves 7 foot tall. I said, there's still going to be however many you send out there, but we were fortunate. Again, we had a lot of breaks, and we were able to break to the ball. And if we would have been in man coverage, I don't think we would have got those interceptions, because a lot of it was a bat and then someone running over, coming up and catching the football. The time Alex intercepted his, quarterback was under pressure, and he threw it into a group of people, and he was able to dart in. So I think all that was a product of a little bit of what we were trying to do.
Let's talk a little bit offensively now. Well, let's talk defense first, and then we'll talk the offense. At the end of the game, we threw an interception. It was an unfortunate thing. They've got 4.5 minutes to go the length of the field. They go the length of the field, and we come up with another interception, the fourth one, with a minute to go.
Big.
Huge play, because now that puts us in the position to have the ball. Let's talk about, because you hear people in the stands about how do you handle that last minute. Obviously, we ran the ball, to try to get something going. But the key is we didn't want to turn the ball over.
No.
Particularly deep in our territory. Yeah. Isn't that right?
Well, it is, and you gotta be who you are, and by that I mean, if you're a team that is runs a football and sets the pass up with their runs, a play action pass, then that's who you are. And if you're going to come out with a minute left to go in the game and try to heave the ball downfield and spread everybody out and do some things you're not good at, something bad's going to happen. And we knew we had overtime. We knew all we had to do was get this, and so as a result, it's not like you play conservative. If I had some of the personnel and if it was a different year, we would have done things a little bit differently. You try to go out and do that, but like I said, you have to be who you are. And there's sometimes, and I know as a high school football coach, what I get quite a bit in terms of second guessing is someone always, you sit and watch the pro game, you watch a college game, and that ball gets in the 20-yard line, and you go, well, I'll just go ahead and kick the field goal then. All right, well, in high school football, it's still 50-50 if an extra point's going to go in. Right. And that's nothing against any kickers. It's just not automatic. And again, know who you are, and don't try to do something that it's not you. And that at that point, it was just not us to be able to work on that 2-minute offense going down the field. Now if we had maybe all of our healthy receivers, we had Colton on one side, and then we could split Noah to the other side, and we had some other things, maybe a possibility, but just not on that night.
Well, certainly the Indians take a lot out of that game, as you mentioned. We'll go back and look at that and say, hey, we're going to move forward and we're going to grow from that. Up to this point, they close out phase 1 of our schedule, which is a non-conference schedule. We now move into our GWAC section, our crossover game. We will go to Northmont, and Coach, I'd love to sit here and say, hey, we got a week to heal up, but well, we've got a Division I team that we're going down to and playing a very good Northmont football team.
Well, yeah, in Northmont, they're 0-3, but their opponents are 8-1, and the opponents are people that everybody's heard of. So you're talking Hilliard Darby, which is an undefeated team. You're talking about Lakota, and you're talking about Fairfield. Those are 3 big Division I schools. So when they come to, when they come to play us, all right. And I know we've had a pretty good schedule too. St. John's, I think, and Lima Senior are two of the better teams in Ohio. But this is going to be, it's not going to be a surprise. All of a sudden, they're not going to say, boy, these guys are faster than what we've seen. These guys are bigger. What we've got to do is we've got to go down there and we've got to execute. The biggest thing that we have to do is go down to Englewood, Ohio, and execute mistake-free. And if we do that, then we should be in a good position to win that football game.
Going on the road is certainly different territory than coming home, because now we're going into someone else's territory. Little different than a couple weeks ago. We don't have to get on a 2-hour trip it's a 45-minute trip on a bus, and away we go. But there's still that mental preparation of being able to go through your day, get on the bus, and go down ready to play.
Yeah, it's just a little bit different for us. Not a whole lot, because like you said, we'll go down there kind of halfway dressed, and tape here, and pretty much everything's here. So it'll just be a little bit. And the nice thing is almost all of our trips are the same distance. It's about we leave here at about 4:30 almost every time, and we don't have to totally rush out of school and grab a sandwich and head out. So you got a little bit of time. You know, the kids, I know everybody likes to establish a little game day ritual, whether or not it be go eat at a particular restaurant, go hang out with your girlfriend, go home and take a nap, whatever the case may be. Everybody likes to do that, so I think that'll give them a little time to do something like that.
What can the Piqua fans expect when we see Northmont? What is their mantra? What is their philosophy? What are we going to see offensively and defensively?
Well, they're going to be a spread offense for the most part. Now, they have been running under center a little bit more, and they feature the running game a little bit more than they have in the past. So I think that's going to be a difference. You're going to see a huge offensive line. They're going to see about 100 kids on the sideline. It's one of the biggest teams, you know, in terms of just members of the team that you're going to see. And then defensively, they run a scheme very similar to ours. And so there'll be a 3-deep team. They've got 4 defensive linemen that like to get upfield and wreck the schemes. And I think the strength of their defense is probably in their linebackers. They got a lot of experienced linebackers.
It should be noted that Northmont and Piqua have a long-standing rivalry for years. This will probably be the last time that Piqua and Northmont will be on the gridiron, at least for what we may see as at least that we may see in the short term, because of the way the new conferences and the divisions have gone out. They've got a new coach, but yet a familiar face.
Yeah, Tony Boring was on our staff a while back, and you know, hopefully we're going to be able to work out a deal. I know we're not going to play anymore, but hopefully we're going to work out a deal. We've talked a couple times that we like to scrimmage one another. So I think it's somewhere down the line, whether or not it be next year or the following year, I think we'd like to get on the field with them, because they're going to be a good, sound football team, a lot of speed, well coached, everything that you like to do in a scrimmage. You don't want to go out in a scrimmage and just have somebody not know what's going on, and yeah, you beat them very badly, but in the process you don't learn anything from it.
Right.
You always want to have that scrimmage that's really going to test you, because even if it tests you too much, that doesn't count. You're still 0-0, before the season starts.
We don't want to get too far ahead, but it would be, I think it's important for our people to know that we're at Division III. We are in a region where our teams that are in our region are anywhere as far north as St. Mary's and Wapak, and as south as Cincinnati.
Yeah.
The ratings that just came out unofficially this week had us, I believe, at number 6 in the. So we are. They take the top 8 teams in the playoffs. I know that's probably something that you and I take a look at a little bit. How important is that in the scheme of things? Is it good to keep that in mind for the kids? I mean, you and I, obviously, it's important. I'm sure the kids talk about it.
I think so. Back when you had to wait till Wednesday or Thursday to get them, and now there's websites that you can get them pretty much the next day, and they're fairly accurate, if not perfectly accurate. I think it's something that can be used as a motivator. I don't see any reason why you can't talk about it. Now, if you're going to stand up there every day and say, hey, let's, people are going to get bored with that, and you got to be careful. A lot of people want to be careful because they don't want to set their expectations too high, and then when they fall short, that everybody feels like a failure. But I think our bar is set high enough. Sure. On a natural basis, that's something that's an expectation. So I don't mind that. When you look at the region we're in, there's 3 leagues that are kind of predominant. The WBL is probably, whoever wins that is going to be represented. I think the CBC, whoever wins that is going to be represented. They've done that. And then there's a conference down in Cincinnati with probably some teams that people haven't heard of too much, with the Western Brown and Goshen and people like that. I think their league will be represented. And then, of course, the GWAC will be represented. Then from that point on, there'll be 4 other teams. But if you win your part of the league, usually in those situations, you're going to be invited into it.
Well, Coach, we have a lot of season ahead of us. Certainly our focus right now is on Northmont. And as we go down to Inglewood on Friday night, we know the Indians will be ready to go. And hey, we look behind us. We move on from Lima. We take what we learn from that and move on to Northmont.
Sounds good.
Coach, thanks for joining us. And we just as a reminder, the game is at Northmont. It will be a 7 o'clock kickoff, and it will be the first game in the GWalk this year, and we look forward to the Indians having a great showing. And we are now going to speak to our halftime player of the week. Our featured player this week is someone by the name of Jack Schmeizing. I think you're going to enjoy Jack. Welcome back to the second half of the Bill Nees's Football Coaches Show, and with me is senior Jack Schmeizing, and I would say position, but position right now is on the sideline. And Jack, for our audience out there, tell us before about the injury. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and then let's talk a little bit about what happened to you on that fateful scrimmage.
Yeah, I'm Jack Schmeizing. I'm a senior this year for Piqua. I play football, and I've played baseball in past years, and I played basketball my freshman year. In the winter now, I officiate basketball instead of playing. So with the injury, that was our first scrimmage, August 11th against Tecumseh. We might have been 20 minutes into the scrimmage, and I was playing defensive end. I just came down the line like any other, like hundreds of times I've done in practice in other games. And this time I got kind of caught under a pile and felt some popping and something crack in my leg, and I looked at my big D tackle, Tristan Cox, and I said, "Dude, I just broke my leg." And sure enough, he got up, and it was definitely wasn't facing the right way.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
When that play happened, I happened to be in the press box watching getting our statisticians trained, and I knew when Katie came out. At first, I saw the pile, and I saw whoever was on the back of that pile. I said, whoever was on the back of that pile probably felt that.
Yeah.
Didn't think anything of it, and I saw our trainer out there, and I saw her put a towel over your ankle, and I knew it wasn't good. And by the time I got down to the field, your ankle was going one way, and your foot was going another. And that moment really has changed your life a lot here recently. Oftentimes they see people get hurt and they think, oh, I feel it's too bad. But really kind of walk through people about that, because what people may not know about you is you were, and still are, but you were the leader in the weight room amongst a few others. You were the guy who was coming early, staying late. You're the person that worked beyond and did the expectations of exceeding the expectations. So you were going to be would have been an all-league lineman, and the expectation is you're going to be a big part of our defense. You now shift from that to being a role on the sideline. Talk about the mental challenges that comes with it.
Yeah. So basically, my dad and I have talked about how I can't really focus on, well, what could have happened, what if I was still out there, or what I could do if I was out there. So I just have to focus on what I can do right now. So like you said, be on the sideline. If I see guys out in the game and I see something, maybe they could be doing something a little bit better just to help the team, I definitely make a point to mention it. Unfortunately, this year my brother gets to play varsity too, so that's been the hardest part, is watching him out there and knowing that I could have been out there with him. But at the same time, now I get to watch him every single play. It would have been Saturday mornings before I would have got to see anything. So that's been neat. The hardest part is really, I mean, the guys are doing so well, and it's not watching them win, but it's watching them lose and wondering, what could I have done to help them maybe. But they've worked hard this year. They've earned everything they had. They work hard every day in practice. And mentally for me, I just focus on what I can do to help this team any way I can. Whether that be just picking somebody up when they're down after a tough play, or whatever else they need. I mean, if I need to watch them film and help somebody out, whatever it can be.
I don't want to overemphasize that day and that moment, but if I can try to bring the emotions for our audience out there, I've been around a lot of athletes my whole life, and I have been around a lot of injuries. Mm-hmm. Some stand out to you a little bit more than others. That one will be one that I will remember for a long time, because there was a dead silence between the coaches on the field,
Yeah.
our players, and there was a period of us waiting for the ambulance, and you were the person that really was making the jokes and trying to keep everybody light, because there were some tears, and it wasn't you.
Right.
It was tears from everyone else, because they know how hard you put the time and effort into it, and here you're trying to make jokes and make light of
Right.
things, and we even had Coach Nees laughing, which is a difficult thing to do on a scrimmage day.
Yeah.
Your dad has been a big part of this, but I can remember your brother,
Mm-hmm.
and when your brother came over and he was in tears.
All right.
Do you remember what you said to him? Because I do remember that.
I don't remember exactly. I think just keep your head up, go get it done. I mean, let's finish what we started.
Well, he was emotional, and your response was, "Hey, we don't have time for that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you got to be a leader. You got to get out there." And obviously, he was very distraught, and you were trying
Right.
to pull him up. And your dad was, and obviously your mom and your younger brother Ben. And it's a very emotional time, because hey, you've now got to be a leader in another area,
Mm-hmm.
and you've done very well in that, Jack. And I know that's been a very difficult thing for you. We now talk a little bit about your position in as a brother. When you have your brother who's playing, what's it like to watch him?
I mean, there's nothing better, really. I get to watch him every Friday night, go out there and play as hard as he can. I mean, this last Friday he played his heart out, and it's phenomenal to get him watch him do that.
I'm sure not being able to watch him participate has been tough,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same point in time, you've got other brothers on the team who
Yeah.
are not brothers by blood, and they're standing right behind you now trying to make you laugh. But they're brothers through all the hard work. What's it been like being a part of their life and trying to root them on?
Just being here with them every day has helped me a lot get through all this. I mean, it takes my mind off all this, and at the end of the day, I get to be with the guys that I've spent all summer with, and get to go watch them play their heart out every night.
Well, they surely do have an affection for you, and you can tell that time when it was time for them to wheel you off, they were giving you all that love and encouragement and loving you up. One thing I wouldn't be remiss if I didn't bring up talking about, and that would be your other job as being an official.
Yeah.
They don't think you're very good, but a lot of other people do think you're good. Talk a little bit about basketball officiating, what that's been like.
So right now, my goal for rehab is to get through all that so I can make it back for the end of the season to do some games. So it's been a focus. It's been helping me to get through this also. It's just something I really enjoy. It's something hard. I'm usually pretty decent at everything I do, which I'm privileged in that respect. But basketball officiating is something that I found challenging, and I like that, being able to go out there every night and challenge myself.
Word on the street in the basketball world is that you have a chance to be a fantastic official, and that you're going to make the big time. Now, the big time means maybe Division I or maybe even higher someday. Is that something you want to?
Absolutely. I mean, that's everybody's goal. It's just it takes a lot of hard work and dedication, and I definitely want to make it there, but we'll see what happens.
Well, Jack, I have no doubt that if it's in your heart and your mind, you'll get it done. And we certainly wish you well. And I know these guys here are certainly glad to have you on the sound to make them laugh.
Yep.
Jack, thanks so much for being here. And thank you for joining us. Guys, we are going to head, we will see you on Friday night. The Indians will travel to Northmont to take on the Thunderbolts. It'll be Piqua and Northmont in week 4 in the first week of the GWAC competition. Thanks so much for joining us this week for the Bill Nees Coaches Show.